Hi everyone, welcome to Alan Rickman Week here in the Movie Reviewers 100. My name is Scott, also known as Cinram. I do the Thursday videos here on this collaboration channel. We've had several videos on Alan Rickman already this week. At the beginning, Alice did Die Hard, but he invited other people to talk about Die Hard as well, so I wanted to do that. Particularly since I have read the novel that Die Hard was based on. The novel was actually called Nothing Lasts Forever, and it was in a series of books by Roderick Thorpe about a character, a detective named Joe Leland. And one of the other books in this series had already been adapted into a film starring Frank Sinatra, which was called The Detective. According to what I've read recently, because Die Hard was recently re-released on Blu-ray, Joel Silver, the producer of Die Hard, had to offer the part of the main character to Sinatra first before he could offer it to anyone else, because Sinatra had been in the previous movie. He was like 70 at the time. Luckily, he turned it down. But there's some key differences with Die Hard, the film, and the original novel. First of all, the character isn't named John McClane, he's named Joe Leland. And second of all, he is at least about 20 years older than McClane is. I think in Die Hard, he's probably in his late 30s. In the novel, he's in his late 50s, early 60s. He's getting close to retirement. So, given that the movie was made around 88, you'd probably say, Clint Eastwood would have been a good person to play that part if they had not made the character younger. But of course, Bruce Willis, is really great as the character is written. In the novel, Leland, the cop, is going to visit his daughter, of course, just like in the film. Oh wait, no, that's not like the film. In the film, he's going to visit his wife, Holly. In the novel, he's going to visit his daughter, who is an executive at this company. In the film, one of the other executives is obviously, been doing cocaine. And as it turns out in the book, his daughter's hooked on cocaine as well. So he's obviously not happy about that. But the premise is basically the same. Hans Gruber and a bunch of other men posing as terrorists invade the building and hold people hostage in the attempt to basically get some valuable stuff out of the safe there in the corporate offices. There's even a scene in which Leland has to tie a fire hose around his waist and jump off of the roof of the building and then get down, to one of the lower floors because the guys have the staircases covered. And in the book, you have a similar situation at the end where Gruber is holding Leland's daughter hostage, and Leland shoots at him and he falls out the window. The difference being, in the book, his daughter doesn't survive. His daughter tumbles out and falls to the ground along with Hans Gruber, which of course makes the book a lot more downbeat than the movie. But of course the movie is a classic of 80s action, just action movies in general. There's a lot of restraint in this movie that you don't see nowadays. One thing I like to remember is that in practically every big action movie that's made now, the movie begins with some big action set piece, and then you have introduction of the characters and you get to know them a little bit before the action starts up again. But Die Hard isn't like that. It starts off with pretty low key for the most part, pretty quiet, before Hans Gruber and his band of merry men invade the building, take over the front desk, and join the party and hold everyone hostage. At which point McClane, the Bruce Willis character, escapes notice and starts running around the building trying to figure out a way to notify the cops and stop these guys and free the hostages and save lives. And of course Hans Gruber is played by Alan Rickman, who is a fantastic actor and is one of the best villains in any action movie. This article that I read about the Blu-ray commented that Alan Rickman pretty much invented the Eurotrash villain, the extremely well-dressed, well-spoken psychopath, criminal mastermind who hails from Europe. Of course, he had lots of, he's got a lot in common with Bond villains as well. As far as sort of the modern Natalie dressed bad guy, he's one of the big ones there in that genre. Die Hard, of course, is a classic. I want to talk about a couple of other Alan Rickman films as well that hadn't been mentioned so far this week. We've had reviews of Nobel's Son and Love Actually and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves the one about the wine, Napa Valley, Bottle Shock. Yes, that's right. I wanted to talk about a film that came out in the early 90s called Closetland, which was in which Alan Rickman starred with Madeline Stowe. Now, Dino, when he made his video, he was talking about the fact that Alan Rickman doesn't often play lead roles, mostly just supporting parts in the Harry Potter movies, for example, and he's great in those. He really sort of steals the scene from everybody. But in Closetland, he is the co-headliner with Madeline Stowe. She is a children's author, and she's been accused of writing subversive propaganda, anti-government propaganda that's been disguised as innocuous children's stories. And Alan Rickman is her interrogator. He's got her in this room all by himself, and he's questioning her, and he's threatening her, and he's telling her to sign a confession and everything like that and admit to all this stuff, which she won't admit to. And it's a chamber drama, basically, pretty much taking place in this one location. Now, I can't tell you whether or not there are more characters or actors in this movie because that's part of the surprise, but if you can find the movie anywhere on DVD, that'll be an even bigger surprise because I could only find it on VHS. But I managed to find the VHS at a local shop, so I rewatched it this morning. And I was impressed with it when I first saw it, but not as much now. The acting's really good, but it's a very self-consciously arty movie. It isn't like a police interrogation room that they're sitting in. It's a very sort of stylized room with stone pillars in the middle of it for some reason, and this is sort of very stylish triangular desk that revolves around and has all sorts of secret compartments and stuff on it. So he spends basically the movie tormenting her and goading her and then trying to be nice and say, if only you just sign this, it'll all be over with and you can walk out of here. But, she's very resistant. She feels that signing this and admitting to doing something like this is surrendering, and she doesn't want to do that. She's got a big heart. So yeah, not a great movie, but certainly, Alan Rickman's really good in it, and so is Madeline Stowe. She's never been one of my favorite actresses, but she can play a good part every once in a while. I really like her in 12 Monkeys a lot as well. One of my favorite science fiction movies. Another movie I wanted to mention is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and this is something that we could have reviewed, of course, for Sam Rockwell week last week, because both Alan Rickman and Sam Rockwell are in this. I have been a fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, and Douglas Adams in particular, for a very, very long time. I think I read the first book when I was 13 or 14 years old, and I was laughing within like 2 paragraphs, and I couldn't stop. Really my first sort of experience with this specific kind of English humor that, I hadn't really gotten into Monty Python or a lot of that stuff, but so Douglas Adams was my first taste of that. And I was waiting for a long time for a movie to come out. The funny thing, though, is being kind of young, I really wasn't familiar with the cities that they mention in the film, so I didn't realize the story took place amongst English characters rather than American. So I was picturing guys like Jeff Goldblum for Arthur Dent and Michael Keaton for Ford Prefect, and for the robot, the depressed robot named Marvin, I was picturing Martin Short, because he would be really good as sort of a downcast, depressed character. But Alan Rickman ended up doing the voice for the film that was made and came out in 2005. Martin Freeman, of course, who plays Bilbo in The Hobbit, played Arthur. The hip-hop guy, Mos Def, who's also an actor, played Ford. And Sam Rockwell, of course, played Zaphod Beeblebrox, the crazy president of the galaxy. And it's a very good part for him. He's just another one of those great Sam Rockwell comic relief parts. The movie was never, ever, ever going to be as good as the book. I knew that going in, there's no possible way it could be. So I wasn't really disappointed the way a lot of people are. They thought, oh my goodness, it's terrible. I'm just like, it's Hitchhikers, it's still funny. There's a really good trailer for it that resembles an actual entry into the Hitchhiker's Guide itself. It's like if you were to go on to, it's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, when the book first came out in the 70s, and actually it was a radio show before then, was supposed to be like the very first internet tablet. Before there even was an internet or any kind of search engine, there was this computer tablet that you could, command to search for anything in the whole galaxy, and it would give you a short little video with an explanation of what it was. So the trailer, one of the trailers for Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, resembles like an entry in the guide. I'll put the link in the description below for you to see it, which is really great. There's a little bit of Alan Rickman in that as the robot. But finally, the last movie that I want to talk about was Bob Roberts, which is a movie that I reviewed actually for this channel, but that video was deleted by when our channel got hacked last year. So it's gone now. But Bob Roberts has been one of my favorite comedies for a long time. It came out in 1992. It was the directorial debut of Tim Robbins, who plays the main character. Bob Roberts is a folk singer who is now running for the Republican seat on the Pennsylvania Senate. And a Pennsylvania Senate seat. And the movie is basically a fake documentary about his presidential run, and there's all kinds of, shady shenanigans going on involving him. Really terrific cast. The funny thing about it is most of the people in his inner circle, his advisors, this is what have you, they're all played by actors who are classic movie villain actors. You've got Ray Wise, who played Leland Palmer in Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer's father, and of course he played one of the thugs in the first RoboCop film. You've got his doctor is played by the head drug dealer in the original Lethal Weapon film, and of course Alan Rickman plays a guy named Lucas Hart III, who is also a very politically connected campaign and strategy advisor, probably end up being his chief of staff if he was ever president or something like that. But yeah, he's a very shady character, and Alan Rickman's always really good at being like super reserved and like menacing, even while speaking quietly. Well, he has a couple of good moments in this movie. He's got like the funniest line in the whole movie after Bob gets shot by an assassination attempt. He gets on the news and says, we're going to go straight to Washington. This isn't going to stop Bob. It's just got one of the funniest bits in the whole film. And it's full of really good character actors as well. Giancarlo Esposito is this guy who's a journalist who's writing for a sort of underground paper, and he's always trying to get evidence on Bob to show that he's a shady character. But there's lots of big actors like Helen Hunt and Susan Sarandon and Fred Ward and Fisher Stevens and other people who play like small little parts throughout the movie. Really terrific, terrific film. And of course, Alan Rickman's a blast in this, as most of the people are. So there's my diverse selection of Alan Rickman films for the video, and we've got a new theme starting, of course, Friday, and more themes to come all throughout the year, so we hope you'll stay tuned for those. Subscribe if you haven't, and be sure to check out the other guys' Alan Rickman videos if you haven't already. Thanks very much. Take it easy.